the US is offering intelligence to help Ukraine defend itself, and it's getting Russians killed. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Russia has one of the most advanced militaries in the world. So it's come as a bit of a surprise to many that Ukraine's armed forces have been able to hold them back. EU intelligence says Vladimir Putin is furious the Ukraine invasion hasn't been easy. So why did everyone miscalculate? Definitely a big part of it has been the tenacity of Ukrainians. They've been willing to fight when everyone just assumed they'd give up easily. It's a classic underdog story, just like David and Goliath, if Goliath had a lot of tanks. But training and weapons from other countries have been a huge help as well, especially US anti-tank javelins and killer switchblade drones. Okay, it's like David and Goliath has a lot of tanks, but David has shoulder-launching anti-tank missiles. But there's another element that's aiding Ukraine: US intelligence.
The sinking of the Russian cruiser Moskva, Russia's pride of the Black Sea, shocked the world after 2 Ukrainian anti-ship missiles struck the vessel on April 14th. This morning, U.S. officials telling NBC News that happened with the help of the United States. Americans identified and located the vessel when asked by Ukrainian officials.
Okay, it's like David and Goliath has a lot of tanks, but David has shoulder-launching anti-tank missiles and covert intelligence from a friend. Classic underdog story. So the U.S. isn't getting actively involved in the war in Ukraine, but they are supplying intelligence that's getting Russians killed. I'm sure Putin, a man known for his subtlety and nuance, will appreciate the difference. U.S. intelligence was even helping Ukraine before Russia's invasion. As Russia prepared to invade, U.S. intelligence agencies shared commercial satellite imagery with Ukraine and intelligence from spy drones. U.S. military teams also provided detailed advice on how Ukraine could use its air defense systems to prevent Russia from dominating the skies. And, surprise, the CIA was involved as well. I know, shocking that the CIA was involved in a foreign conflict. It helped Ukraine root out Russian spies and prepare for invasion. Following Russia's annexation of Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula in 2014, a small group of CIA paramilitary officers were sent into the country to train the Ukrainians in the use of Javelin anti-tank missiles, sniper techniques, and covert communications. The CIA is now also devoting significant resources to protecting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Since Putin wants him dead. As you can see, the US helped Ukraine in a lot of ways leading up to Russia's invasion. However, according to one anonymous official back in March, the U.S. is not providing real-time intelligence, which is important since also in March, the House Armed Services Committee Chair Adam Smith stressed that it is essential that the U.S. does not provide real-time targeting intelligence to Ukraine. We have to help Ukraine in every way we can without widening the war and stumbling into World War III. Yeah. We don't want to use real-time intelligence to do something crazy like kill Russian generals and spark World War III. Except according to the New York Times, U.S. intelligence is helping Ukraine kill Russian generals by providing real-time intelligence to Ukraine. Boy, I miss the simpler days of only dealing with the global pandemic. But Biden administration officials are pushing back. They say they aren't helping Ukraine kill Russian generals. I'll explain more after the break. Welcome back. U.S. intelligence is playing a major role in Ukraine's success. Thanks to good intelligence, Ukraine was able to kill approximately 12 Russian generals as of this recording. According to the New York Times, the U.S. had a helping hand in that. The United States has focused on providing the location and other details about the Russian military's mobile headquarters, which relocate frequently. But U.S. officials deny U.S. intelligence is targeting Russian generals in Ukraine.
We do not provide intelligence on the location of senior military leaders on the battlefield or participate in the targeting decisions of the Ukrainian military.
They also deny targeting the Russian cruiser in the Black Sea.
We did not provide specific targeting information about the Moskva to the Ukrainians. We weren't involved in their decision to conduct that strike, and we certainly weren't involved in the actual execution of that strike.
U.S. officials insist on distancing the U.S. from Ukraine's attacks. They want to avoid escalating conflict between NATO and Russia. After all, Putin does have nukes. Nukes, Putin's solution to every problem. That's why the U.S. says it limits what kind of intelligence Ukraine gets. For example, officials say they've declined to provide information about potential targets inside Russia itself. The most important message officials want to get across is that the U.S. isn't involved with targeting Russian leaders. They don't like it when the media says otherwise. After the New York Times published its piece, National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson said the headline of the story is misleading and the way it is framed is irresponsible. The United States provides battlefield intelligence to help the Ukrainians defend their country. What? A New York Times story with a misleading headline and framing? They wouldn't do that. Watson also said the U.S. does not provide intelligence with the intent to kill Russian generals. That's all fine and good, but how is the New York Times going to get people to click on the story if the headline isn't about killing Russian generals? What are they going to say? U.S. intelligence helps Ukraine defend itself? Boring. U.S. officials are also quick to point out that Ukraine doesn't just rely on U.S. intelligence. According to Defense Department spokesman John Kirby, Ukraine combines information that we and other partners provide with the intelligence that they themselves are gathering on the battlefield. And then they make their own decisions and they take their own actions. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki echoes the same message. This is an inaccurate overclaiming of our role and an underclaiming of the role of the Ukrainians, who, frankly, have a greater level of intelligence and access to intelligence than we do. Well, I'm sure no one would disagree that others have more intelligence than the Biden administration. But is the U.S. really that innocent? More importantly, does Putin believe it? I'll get to that after the final commercial break. Welcome back. The U.S. government is pushing back against claims that it's providing intelligence that specifically targets Russian generals. Officials say they're only giving Ukraine intelligence to defend itself.
What I say, Brianna, is that we routinely and have now for weeks been sharing information and intelligence about Russian units, both at sea and ashore, to help the Ukrainians defend themselves against this invasion.
It's pretty obvious that U.S. officials are playing a pretty delicate semantic game here. And I'm pretty anti-semantic. For example, Defense Department spokesman John Kirby said this.
We do not provide intelligence on the location of senior military leaders on the battlefield or participate in the targeting decisions of the Ukrainian military.
But the Times never said the U.S. was providing intelligence on senior Russian military leaders' locations. They said the U.S. was only providing the location of the Russian military's mobile headquarters. Yeah, technically we're not telling you where the Russian generals are, but here's their mobile military headquarters. We're not telling you to strike, it's just a heads up. The same thing can be said for the sinking of Russia's Black Sea cruiser, the Moskva. According to CNN sources, Ukrainian forces, having spotted the Russian warship in the Black Sea, called their American contacts for confirmation that it was in fact the Moskva. The U.S. responded that it was and provided intelligence about its location. Hey, you asked us first. We're just confirming what you said. We're not telling you to attack. Oh, and here's the location. U.S. officials are emphasizing that U.S. intelligence is helping Ukraine defend itself. But defending obviously involves targeting Russian forces and their leaders. They're not telling the Ukrainians the location of Russian bases so they can send them edible arrangements and a nice note saying, please stop invading us. But it's not as though Russia's surprised. In response to the New York Times article, the Kremlin spokesperson said, our military is well aware that the United States, Britain, and NATO as a whole are constantly transmitting intelligence to the Ukrainian armed forces. I mean, the U.S. has already made it pretty clear to Russia that we want to do more than just help Ukraine survive. As recently as late April, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said, we want to see Russia weakened to the degree that it can't do the kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine. If Russia isn't retaliating because of all that, then perhaps using U.S. intelligence to target Russian military leaders isn't the red line that starts World War III. After all, the greatest weapon being used in this war isn't rocket launchers, drones, or intelligence. It's social media influencers. They help the war effort in other ways. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, we could not make the show without the support of viewers like you. You can help for as little as $1 per episode over on patreon.com/AmericaUncovered or our exclusive censorship-free social media platform on americauncovered.locals.com. The links to both are in the description below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.